On today's show, we talk to science fiction author Michael Foy and children's book author Kim Clarkson. Make a delicious cranberry sauce, hear original poetry, and about upcoming things to do in our area. We're glad you're here. Let's get started. We went on the local scene with local author Kim Clarkson.
I became a writer many years ago. I enjoyed writing stories. I enjoyed writing poetry when I was a child, even though I was dyslexic and reading was difficult. I gravitated to writing and I really enjoyed it. And then as a teacher and as a parent, I became more focused with my writing. I had a purpose then. I had children looking to me to learn life lessons and learn content sometimes of math and English, and I just drew from my love of writing. And then eventually wrote Rodica's Red Scarf, and I guess I'm now a real writer. After I wrote it, in 1996, I ran it off, made copies, and then I used red ribbon to hold it all together. I had in my living room, my gosh, 20 boxes that I packed these in, and then mailed them out to Oprah, many agents and publishers, hoping that somebody would see the book and be interested, but crickets, didn't hear from anybody. Back then, self-publishing was just starting. So raising my family, I put it on a back burner, and about 2 years ago, friends were always after me to do something with it. So 2 years ago, I was getting close to retirement from teaching, and I was like, this is the time. So I went ahead and self-published Rodica's Red Scarf. Rodica lives in a village with her family in Romania, and a simple act of kindness from a person they never met actually saves her family. And Rodica's sharing heart also plays a part in how her family survives throughout the year. The story takes children through the seasons and how this scarf saves their life through each season. Way back in 1990, I heard about the overthrow of Ceausescu and the Romanian Revolution. And then I started reading articles about it, watching documentaries, and then I became aware of the orphans that were in Romania. And it just tugged at my heartstrings. And I always knew I wanted to adopt, just didn't know where. And I just prayed about it, and I was led to Romania. I ended up in Romania in 1991 in April. So just a little over a year after the overthrow and the revolution. And I stayed in a city on the west coast of Romania with a family. And part of that family was this woman named Rodica. The child in my story is named after. And Rodica is the one that found my son in a hospital. And her daughter, Elena, also part of this family that I stayed with, she was a doctor, and she saved my son's life prior to me getting there. He was 3 weeks old when I arrived to get him. And I heard about their relatives that lived in a local village and how hard life was for them. So when I came back to the United States, I started raising money and had boxes in my living room, and as my children grew, they were part of putting items into these boxes and sending them over to the village to help them out. So we did that for about 9 years. One of the shipments happened around Christmas time, and one of the relatives of this family I knew that lived in the village, her name was Mariana. And Mariana was a teacher in the village. And when you're a teacher in the village, you're respected like you're the mayor. People always looked up to her. So when the packages arrived to the village, she helped distribute them. And one of the packages went to this particular family, and she wrote me a letter about them. And when I got this letter, it just tugged at my heartstrings, and that's when it all sparked to write Rodica's Red Scarf. A lot of my story is based on truth and fact of how these people lived. What happens to the scarf is fiction. It was important because I wanted my son to grow up knowing how blessed he is to grow up in America and the opportunities that he had compared to what the people in this village had. Although it's not the village my son was born in, his birth family was from a village in Romania, and they had a very, very difficult time living there. So I wanted him to grow up with an appreciation and a little bit of history from a child's perspective of what it would have been like for him had he lived there. People of all ages appreciate it. I was recently at an event and a 40-year-old woman came up to me from Romania. She gave me a hug and she said, you know, you really depicted the village the way it really is. So she had an appreciation for it. I just wanted to save some history of Romania for the Romanian children, and I hope it will get into their hands. The impact this book had on me writing it, it humbled me. It really humbled me. Being in Romania and being a part of seeing these people try to move forward after 42 years of being under communist rule, living with them for 3 weeks and seeing what they went through. Well, a little taste of what they went through. I'll never know the full context of it. And then writing the book really humbled me and really had me have a sense of gratitude and thankfulness of living in this country and the opportunities that we have. I hope readers take away an attitude of gratitude. Quite simply, I really hope that after reading the book, they feel grateful and start thinking about the things that they have that they're grateful for, and also stop and ask themselves, what can I do for somebody else to make their life better? Just a little bit of act of kindness can have such a ripple effect.
The Pilgrim Festival Chorus invites you to come sing along or simply enjoy listening to what will be a festive, uplifting evening of choral jubilation. On Friday, December 20th, all are invited to First Congregational Church at the Green for Celebrate from Messiah and Carol Sing, a special collaborative performance of Part 1 of Handel's Messiah that will feature PFC singers, community members, volunteer soloists, and instrumentalists. The evening will also include a sing-along of seasonal favorites. Scores for all pieces will be available to borrow, and you are welcome to bring your own. The performance runs from 7 to 8 p.m., costs $10, and is free for kids under age 12. Tickets are available online at pilgrimfestivalchorus.org or at the door the night of the event. Next up on Delicious and Nutritious, Chef Jerry Levine prepares a tasty cranberry sauce that will complement all of your holiday dishes.
Today we are going to do a delicious fall winter dish that goes really nicely with turkey, ham, chicken, Cornish game hens, any of these things. And it's really easy, and it's a very traditional thing that is normally served with during Thanksgiving, and I suggest it can be also used during the Christmas period. So what is this called? It's called cranberry sauce with clementine, orange, and we are going to be using roasted sunflower seeds to top it off, and that'll be the finishing thing. Okay, let's talk about the ingredients we're going to be using and the tools we're going to be using. Let's start with the tools. We have a pan, and we have one of my favorite potato mashers, and we're going to put that right there. This thing is lovely. Why am I going to use this? Because I want to break up the cranberries a little bit, but I don't want to use a blender because I don't want a soft mixture. I want something that has a little texture to it. Okay, what do we have? Clementines, and these are called clementine tangerines. We have turbinado sugar, a cup of water, and New England favorite, also favorites from the Midwest, is cranberries and our dry roasted sunflower seeds. Okay, what do? First thing we do is we take one of our clementines and we put it into a pan and cover it with water. We would actually use all 3 clementines, and we put it into a pan covered with water, cook them for 10 minutes. Now, this one right here has been cooked for 10 minutes. These 2 have not, because we're not going to actually use them. The recipe calls for a coarse chop, so I'm going to show you what a coarse chop is, all right? We have our nice sharp knife, and we slice across the center, and I always look where I'm slicing because that way I make sure I don't slice my finger, which becomes a bloody mess. But we do this, and if you were holding these clementines. You can see how soft they are right now. So now we're going to do a coarse dice. And I mean coarse. And what I'm going to show you is you can see the size of the piece here. This is what I call a coarse dice. Now this is going to be cooked, and it's going to be cooked so it's going to even make it softer. So now we'll finish this up right here, like this, and like this, and like this, and we do this. Watch how I curl my fingers. I curl my fingers so they stay away from the blade of the knife. And now I stabilize the knife with my left hand. And we go up and down and chop, chop, chop. And we'll just give it a couple more chops. Okay. There we go. Now, we would have done all three of these, and we would put them in the pan, all three of them, and we'd follow that with our 1 cup of water. That would go in the pan also. The turbinado sugar, that would also go in the pan. We're going to put it on the heat, and it would go up to a low simmer, and it's going to go for 30 minutes. And then once it goes for 30 minutes, we're then going to take the cranberries and put them into the pan, and with both of these, of course, and we're going to cook this until the cranberry bursts. When you're heating it, you're going to see that there'll be a line on the cranberry, and it literally bursts, the skin bursts. And we're going to cook that for about 8 minutes, maybe a little bit longer, 10 minutes, and so forth. And then we just take it off, and the next thing we're going to do is we're going to mash it. So we're going to mash it with our handy-dandy potato masher, mash it up, and that is where we are going to do. And the final thing is this is so much better if it is refrigerated. So now it's going to go into the refrigerator. And if you're in a hurry, let it sit in the refrigerator for a half hour or an hour. And that should be adequate. But give it a little bit of coolness to it because it makes it really good that way. Final step. We've taken our chilled cranberry sauce with the clementine oranges, and we're going to put it into our cranberry bowl. Why is this a cranberry bowl? Well, look at the color of the thing. It looks like cranberries. So that we now have a cranberry bowl. And we're just going to put this off to one side. But before we do that, look at this. And you can see the chunks here. That's a little bit of cranberry, and it's also the clementine. And look at the size of this, because this is the size of the chop that I wanted before. Now, sunflower seeds. So we pour a little sunflower seeds in there, and we start gently mixing. You notice what I'm using here to do my mixing? I like working with wooden spoons. Why? Maybe I'm a traditionalist. Does it really make a great deal of difference whether it is a wooden spoon or a metal spoon? Well, it depends upon whether there's acidity in it. But I don't think it really does. But I just happen to like wood. Now I'm turning the bowl so I get a really nice mix. And look at this, the sunflower seeds are starting to disappear in here, but we're still going to see some of them. And doesn't this look delicious? And I am, whoa, does that smell good? There we go.
If you dig a little jam in the morning, the Duxbury Council on Aging's Jazz Brunch might strike a chord with you. On Friday, December 20th, the Duxbury Senior Center will be the scene of an excellent ticket of breakfast foods and popular jazz tunes performed by Steve Lanzalotta and the Play It Again Band. The cost is just $5 per person. Brunch is served from 9 to 9:30 a.m. and the 1-hour-long music set begins at 9:30. Visit duxburyseniorcenter.org or call 781-934-5774, extension 5703 to register. Kingston's Luminaries is a town-wide celebration of the holiday season. Every year, the town's streets are lined with the gentle glow of tea lights placed in white containers, which collectively create a magical lantern effect on the whole town. On Saturday, December 21st, visit the Jones River Chapel from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. Follow the twinkling pathway to the chapel's doors, where inside you will find music, snacks, and hot chocolate. Peruse a local vendor fair, get your face painted, and participate in activities the whole family will enjoy. The Jones River Chapel is at 213 Main Street in Kingston. Next up is poet Jean Kryling in a reading of her original work.
Hello, everyone. Everyone hear me okay? Thank you, Jennifer, for organizing us. You know, it must be a little like herding cats to organize poets. I'm going to read just one poem. This is a piece of terza rima, so you'll hear interlocking rhymes all the way through. And it's a true story. It's called The Song of the Spanish Tenor on My Car Radio. I understand a few words here and there, mi corazón, my heart, and nuevo, new, but I don't know, and I'm not sure I care if he's found new love that he hopes is true, or if a broken heart means he must learn to move on. If the music gives a clue, it isn't clear. The soaring tune may burn with passion or regret. Guitar strings dance in joy or agitation, and that turn from minor key to major might advance the case for more than one interpretation. But all that matters is that by some chance, I've tuned in to a Spanish-speaking station and hear this serenade just as the road on my way home achieves an elevation from which I see the ocean. Whether ode or elegy, the distant song sounds just as close and clear as water that has flowed to this familiar shore. Lament or lust, the tenor's half-wise, half-naive inflection resets my jaded pulse, engenders trust in beauty, and embraces the connection between my own heart and this blue-green sea, as if he means to sing of my affection for what I see from here, and earnestly advise contentment. And though he may sing from arid Spanish highlands, we agree on something fragile as a seagull's wing and deep as oceans. I'm driving alone, but both he and the sea are murmuring nearby in languages mostly unknown to me. Their singing lifts mi corazón. Thank you.
The Rockettes' high-kicking, show-stopping, famed annual Radio City Music Hall Christmas Spectacular has made tap dancing numbers a holiday tradition since 1933. Join the Pembroke Council on Aging to shuffle ball change into the spirit of the season with longtime tap dancer Jan Harold and her fantastic dance crew on Thursday, December 19th for a tap holiday performance. Beginning at 10 a.m., Jan and her brigade of toe tappers will click heel toe across the floor and put on what is sure to be a dazzling dance show. This event is free and open to all. Celebrate the anniversary of the landing of the Pilgrims at Plymouth with the Old Colony Club, who first commemorated the landing on December 22nd, 1769. After some time, the celebration was reinstituted in 1956 to include a march, band music, and the firing of a cannon. This annual tradition has continued each Forefathers' Day since. March your way up to Coles Hill in Plymouth on Sunday, December 22nd at 6 a.m. This gathering is free and open to all. When the weather gets cold and blustery, we humans wrap ourselves in seasonal clothing and spend more time cozied up in heated homes under piles of blankets or beside a warm fire. But what do our animal neighbors do once the temperature drops? Learn how mammals, birds, insects, and reptiles survive the winter at the Duxbury Free Library on Friday, December 27th at 10:30 a.m. Wildlife photographer Joy Marzalt from Joys of Nature will be in the Merry Room with live animal guests to talk about the cold weather survival tactics our creature friends use to make it through the long cold season. This program is 30 minutes long and is ideal for children ages 5 and up to attend with their caregivers. Please register through the Duxbury Free Library's website. The Kingsbury Pub Sip and Shop Holiday Craft Fair is a chance to shore up your holiday gift list while taking some time for you to savor a tasty beverage. On Wednesday, December 18th from 5 to 8 p.m., get in the festive spirit over potable spirits when this event will feature a variety of local and small businesses offering unique gift ideas to purchase, a menu of delicious drinks, and a warm, cozy environment for browsing. The Kingsbury Pub is in the Kingsbury Club and Spa at 186 Summer Street in Kingston. Next up is some news from the Pembroke Public Library.
Hi there, my name is Peter Santori and I'm the Reference and Adult Services Librarian at the Pembroke Public Library. As you probably already know, the library offers more than just our fantastic collection of books. We have movies, games, learning resources, and all sorts of events going on. One thing that I do want to take the time to tell you about today is our Library of Things. Our mission at the library is to facilitate lifelong learning, spark imagination, and connect with our community. In service to that, we have a collection of non-traditional library items available to patrons over the age of 18. We have a wide variety of things in our collection, with something for everyone, from science and technology to crafts and hobbies to home and garden and much, much more. I could go over everything that we have, but for the moment, at least, I'd like to highlight just a few of the things you can check out. Whether you're interested in astronomy, astrology, or just like watching the stars, we have a tabletop telescope that's the perfect thing to see the cosmos. It's got a swivel base for ease of motion and impressive magnification so you won't miss anything. Or, if you're looking for something a little closer to home, why not try out our bird watching kit, which comes with field guides to regional birds, as well as the ever-important binoculars. For those of us who struggle with getting enough sunlight in our day, why not try out the library's natural light lamp? Complete with a stand and dimmer, this is a great tool to help you keep your mood up when the seasons get dark. Looking to get into a new hobby? Give knitting a shot with our Learn to Knit kit. Containing both an instructional booklet and DVDs, as well as a set of knitting needles, this kit will help you jump right into knitting and see if it's the thing for you. Let's talk about one of the different tools we offer, such as the newest addition to the Library of Things, our laminator. With 2 heat settings for 3 or 5 mil sheets, this is more than enough to help you with your everyday laminating needs. We have laminating sheets at the library available for purchase, so ask about them when you check it out. You can find all these things and more at the library, and if you have any suggestions for what else we can add, visit us in person or online and send your ideas our way. We're always looking to expand our collection and love to get your feedback. Thank you for listening, and we hope to see you here.
In her viral TED Talk, The Secret to Successful Aging, Kathleen Toomey shares that neither eating more kale and getting Botox, nor doing endless Sudoku puzzles holds the key to truly aging well. Rather, it is about embracing your age, defying expectations, and growing new friendships. On Wednesday, December 18th, the Duxbury Council on Aging invites you for a viewing of Toomey's TED Talk, with an inspired discussion about the points presented in the video to follow. This event will start at 11 a.m. and be led by the Senior Center's student intern, Andrew. If you would like to attend, please register with the center. Only a few more weeks until Santa loads up his sleigh and makes his way. But if your family would love a Santa sighting before Christmas Eve, plan a breakfast with Santa at Plymouth Patuxent Museums. On December 14th, 15th, and 21st, you're invited to celebrate the holidays with a delicious breakfast buffet, complete with eggs, French toast, pastries, bacon, and the jolly old elf himself. Kids can decorate their very own gingerbread man, create a holiday ornament, write a letter to Santa, and make a memory with the man in red. The fun begins at 10 a.m. on all 3 days. To purchase your tickets, visit plymouth.org. Local Marshfield resident Michael J. Foy is a seasoned author who has written 18 books in the genres of sci-fi, noir, and mystery. Tiff Phillips invited Michael to the Open Here set to discuss his current book release, how his work has evolved over time, and what inspires him to put pen to paper.
I'm with Michael J. Foy. Welcome. So happy to have you on Open Here.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
So let's get started. Tell us about your background. You're kind of a world traveler of sorts. So where did you grow up?
You know, I love that you put it that way. But yeah, that's because of being born to Irish nomadic parents. And they bounced around from here, there, and everywhere. I was actually born in upstate New York. But within 4 years, my parents moved us to London, where we lived for a year. Then we moved back to Boston, where we lived till I was about 12. Then we moved to London again, and Ireland, and then finally back to Boston, where I've lived ever since. The way that I got into what we're about to talk about here is I graduated Northeastern with an engineering degree, and that was inspired by my love of science fiction. So science fiction in general kind of made me think of the sciences and math to a certain degree too. And between that and more specifically Star Trek, that's kind of where I started this career or this phase of my life.
Star Trek, nice.
Yeah, Trekkie.
I love it. So where do you get your inspiration from? Are your characters and your plot lines based on actual events and people?
Well, I do a lot of daydreaming. And I used to get in trouble for that in school, but now I find it's a blessing. In terms of the plot lines, I do kind of a mashup of real people and events with events that I kind of imagine and put them together. So I'm always playing the what if story in my mind. And just to give you an example of that, my first book was titled Future Perfect. It was actually published 20 years ago. I did the what if about an amnesiac gunslinger wakes up in the Old West without his memory. Now that plot line, the amnesia plot line has been done to death, but I put a twist into it where I get my character, the main character, to remember things like cell phones and airplanes when he starts to get better and regain his memory. So
I love that. So what is your process? Every writer's got kind of a different way because everybody's brain works differently. What is your process for writing a book?
Right. It's funny, and this happens all the time. A scene will occur to me, and it happens without my even thinking about it. And once that occurs, I start writing things down. And in a lot of cases, the story kind of takes off by itself. Just as another example, and this is going to sound bizarre and complicated for a scene that appears whole cloth in my mind, but there's a short story I've written called Moonbeams and Their Military Applications. And the scene that occurred to me and kicked that short story off was a woman digging a hole while singing Tony Bennett's Fly Me to the Moon. And as the reader progresses in the story, they'll find that she's digging a hole to bury her ex-lover, who she's just brained with a shovel. She's killed him. And as the reader progresses even further, they'll realize she's on the moon. She's doing that. She's burying him in a crater.
Wow, that is a twist.
That's what I hope people will say, yes.
So you recently released a book in September. Can you tell us a bit? It's a mix of sci-fi and mystery, correct?
That's correct. It's actually a sequel to a book that I previously wrote called Roswell Meets Noir. And it does reintroduce two characters, Brett Kovac and Cade Cameron, that were introduced in that story. And what I do is, much in the tradition of the old-fashioned film noir movies, I tell it from their perspective. It's a first-person narrative, um, and they're kind of modeled after people like Philip Marlowe, Sam Spade, so those hard-boiled detectives. And I remember thinking that wouldn't it be cool if an old-timey private eye like that takes on a mystery that takes them out of their typical genre and into something paranormal. So in this case, alien visitations is the thing that brings them out of the normal. And you could probably guess that from the title of the new book, which is Private Eyes and UFO Lies.
Such a cool mashup of genres. I mean, because I've never seen noir and sci-fi put together like that.
It occurred to me that, they say that every story has been written and told. So I thought, well, what can I do that's a little different? And I always do the what if game, with situations and people and genres, and that gets me charged actually to write these things as well.
Right. So you have 18 books under your belt. That is a huge accomplishment. How does that make you feel?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
It's funny when you say that. It's hard to believe.
Yeah.
My first book, Future Perfect, was done 20 years ago, but it took me 13 years to write it.
Wow.
And that's because I just kept starting and stopping, and I had my day job as an engineer. But yeah, to hear that I've written 18 books, it's still it boggles my mind. But thank you for noticing.
Yeah. A little pat on the back.
Thanks.
Over the course of those 18 books, how has your work evolved over time?
I'd like to think that it's gotten clearer, and I constantly work on making my writing as clear as possible. I hate it, and everybody probably does this, when they're reading a book and they have to kind of reread a section to find out what is the author really trying to say. So over the years I've experimented with different voices and techniques, and I'm happy to say that my chief critics, namely my family, said that yes, I do well at relating a very clear narrative.
I love it. So what advice do you have for aspiring writers?
I'm going to start off with something silly. There was a character called Bret Hart many years ago. He was the champion of the World Wrestling Entertainment. And he once told an interviewer, you've got to want it every day.
Mm.
Writing is kind of like that, because you need total dedication to the craft. And if you find yourself, and this might be a clue to anybody who's aspiring to be a writer, if you find yourself reading a book and wondering, boy, if I wrote that, I'd write it this way, that's a sign that you might be into it. And for me, at this stage, and I've been doing it a while now, I just find that I can't not write.
Right. I love that.
Yeah.
So how does writing personally fulfill you?
Well, actually, in two ways. When I'm in the middle of it, when I'm writing a book, I kind of live vicariously through my characters and live their adventures. And I find that life is much more interesting if you're looking at it through different perspectives. So that's the first way. And then after the book is published and people start reading it, when they come back to me and say, that was a great escapist kind of book and flight to places I've never been before, that's really what I love. That's my real true currency. It's really why I do it.
So what does the future hold for you?
Well, at the moment, I'm actually about 10% of the way through my next book. And like the current book, it's going to be local, but not in the way you think. My two detectives in the book that's out right now, Private Eyes and UFO Lies, are Marshfield-based, and they work around the South Shore. This book is going to be also South Shore-based, this new one. And it starts with a man being kidnapped, forcibly taken into the woods and abandoned. They injure him severely. Namely, they amputate his left hand. But he's still pretty confident that he can find his way back to civilization. And he starts to follow the path of a stream eastward, and figuring that if he can get to the ocean, he'll definitely come across a population center. So as he starts walking eastward, he starts to recognize more and more the landscape. But then he recognizes that, yes, that I know that landscape, but some of the man-made structures aren't there. And that's because not only did he get abandoned in the woods, he's abandoned in time. He's back in time 500 years. Pre-Columbian Indians surround him to confirm that hypothesis.
So you're just going to keep writing.
Yes, I am. I've got an idea where that's going.
And we're going to keep reading. Thank you
Cool.
so much, Mike, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
On Saturday, December 14th, celebrate the holiday season with A Winter's Night, a Snug Harbor Community Chorus family concert featuring an audience sing-along, more than 50 voices, live musicians, a raffle, and a silent auction. Conducted by music director Stephen Bergman and accompanied by South Shore Conservatory Piano Department faculty Sarah Troxler, this popular winter show will present an eclectic mix of holiday favorites and spotlight vocal performances by talented high school students William Larson and Allison Leary. The concert takes place at 7:30 p.m. at the Duxbury Performing Arts Center, and there is an additional matinee performance on Sunday, December 15th at 2 p.m. at Laura's Center for the Arts in Hanover. Children under 10 are admitted free of charge, and all ticket proceeds go towards providing music education scholarships to high school students. Snug Harbor is a nonprofit chorus whose members come from all over the South Shore. Get your tickets at the door or visit the Snug Harbor website. And that, my friends, wraps this episode of What's Good and Good to Know in our area. We thank our patrons Tiny & Sons, Quintal Brothers, and Squinny's Pizza for supporting our mission of community in action through media. Thank you for watching. We'll see you on the local scene. For more of what's good and good to know on the South Shore of Massachusetts, hit the subscribe button. And thank you for watching.